Muammar Gaddafi, the fiery revolutionary leader who ruled Libya for over 4 decades, was both feared and revered. From Bedouin tents to golden palaces, he defied Western powers, changed stereotypes, championed pan-Africanism, and left a legacy wrapped in mystery, ambition, and chaos. Love him or hate him, Gaddafi could never be ignored and is still remembered till this day. He was ruthless, yet theatrical, feared, yet fascinating. Among his most iconic and mysterious choices, the one that clearly stood out was surrounding himself with a striking squad of all-female bodyguards, famously known as the Amazonian Guards or the Revolutionary Nuns. Dressed in military fatigues with flawless precision and unwavering loyalty, these women were more than a security force. They were a symbol of power, defiance, and spectacle. Think of the Amazonian Guards like the Dahomey warriors in the movie The Woman King. Gaddafi claimed they were chosen for their beauty and bravery, trained to protect him with their lives. Together, they created an unforgettable image, a dictator wrapped in danger, shadowed by elegance with a deadly edge. This group of elite women is one that will go down in African history, just like the Dahomey warriors in ancient Benin Kingdom. Today, we're going to explore the fascinating world of Gaddafi's elite, all-female bodyguards. Get ready to be thrilled by this story, one that will make your jaws drop. Muammar Gaddafi Abu Minyar became the president of Libya in 1969 at the age of 27 and ruled Libya for over 40 years until his death in 2011. He was known for doing things differently, but one of the most unusual things he did was to have an all-female bodyguards. These weren't just any women. They were highly trained and very loyal to Gaddafi. You might be asking why Gaddafi decided to have an all-female bodyguard. Well, sit tight as we unpack everything. When Gaddafi came to power in 1969, he had a big plan to transform Libya to a superpower. One of the things he wanted to do was give women more rights. In 1979, Gaddafi opened a special military school just for women. This was a big deal in a country like Libya, where women didn't usually do jobs like being soldiers. The school taught women how to use weapons and how to protect important people. Some of the best students from this school were chosen to be Gaddafi's personal bodyguards. These women became known as the Amazonian Guards or the Revolutionary Nuns. Training to be an elite bodyguard and becoming one of Gaddafi's bodyguards wasn't easy. The women had to go through really tough training. They learned how to shoot guns, how to fight, and how to spot danger. But it wasn't just about physical skills. These women also had to learn about Gaddafi's ideas and beliefs. They had to be completely loyal and be ready to die for him. The training was so hard that only the very best women made it through. Those who did became part of this special group found themselves very lucky because they got to travel with Gaddafi and protect him wherever he went. This school was in Tripoli, the capital city of Libya. Again, if you have watched the Woman King movie, then you might have an idea of the kind of training these girls underwent at this military academy. Young women from all over the country could apply to study there, but only the best were chosen. At the academy, the women learned all kinds of things. They had classes about Gaddafi's ideas and the history of Libya. They also learned practical skills like how to use different weapons and how to fight. The training was tough. They practiced shooting guns and learned how to protect important people. Not all the women who studied at this academy became Gaddafi's bodyguards, but they all learned skills that could help them get good jobs in the military or police. The women who were selected to become Gaddafi's bodyguards had very strict routines. They would wake up early and start their day with exercise. They had to stay fit and strong. They always looked very feminine with makeup and lipstick, yet very deadly. When they are all dressed up, they would check their weapons and make sure everything was ready for the day. When Gaddafi went out, the bodyguards would go with him. They would stand around him in a circle, always watching for any danger. They wore special uniforms that made them easy to spot. Sometimes, they even wore high heels and shirts, which was unusual for bodyguards. The job wasn't just about standing around though. These women had to be ready to act fast if anything happened. They were trained to protect Gaddafi with their own lives if they had to. The Amazonian Guard were more than just bodyguards. Gaddafi's female bodyguards weren't just there to protect him. They were also a symbol of his ideas about women's rights in Libya. In many countries nearby, women weren't allowed to do jobs like being soldiers or bodyguards. But Gaddafi wanted to show that in Libya, women could do anything men could do. He said that his female bodyguards proved that women were equal to men. These women became famous around the world. People were surprised to see women doing such an important job in a country where women usually didn't have much power. Amongst the many women who served as Gaddafi's bodyguards during his reign was Fatima. The story of Fatima is a very interesting one. Fatima was one of Gaddafi's most trusted protectors. Fatima joined the military academy when she was young. She worked hard and became one of the best students. When she graduated, she was chosen to be part of Gaddafi's guard. Fatima traveled all over the world with Gaddafi. She stood by his side during important meetings with other leaders. She was always ready to protect him if anything happened. But Fatima's job wasn't just about being a bodyguard. She also became a spokesperson for women's rights in Libya. She would talk to reporters about how women in Libya were free to do any job they wanted. Fatima's story shows how being a bodyguard for Gaddafi could open up new opportunities for women in Libya. Fatima was trained to kill, sworn to celibacy, and fiercely loyal to Gaddafi. Her story turned tragic in 1998 when an ambush targeted Gaddafi's convoy. Without hesitation, Fatima threw herself in front of him, taking bullets meant for the colonel. She died protecting him, her sacrifice hailed as heroic by the regime. Though shrouded in mystery, her death became legendary, reinforcing Gaddafi's image as a leader worth dying for, and raising questions about the cost of loyalty in a world where devotion, glamour, and power collided under one man's shadow. Being a woman in a Muslim country like Libya, where women are marginalized, isn't easy. Talk less of being in a profession that is male-dominated. These women faced a lot of challenges. Firstly, there were people in Libya who didn't like the idea of women being bodyguards. They thought it wasn't a proper job for women. The bodyguards had to deal with these negative opinions all the time. Secondly, the job was really dangerous. These women had to be ready to risk their lives to protect Gaddafi. There were times when they faced real threats. Thirdly, being a bodyguard meant these women didn't have much of a personal life. They had to be ready to work at any time. This made it hard for them to have families or do other things they might want to do. Despite these challenges, many women still wanted to be part of Gaddafi's guard. They felt proud of their job and believed they were helping to change things for women in Libya. One of the most interesting things about Gaddafi's female bodyguards was how they looked. Their uniforms were not what you might expect for bodyguards. Sometimes, these women wore military-style uniforms. They would have camouflage pants and jackets, just like regular soldiers. But other times, their outfits were much fancier. On special occasions, the bodyguards would wear bright colors like red or green. They might have gold buttons on their jackets. Some even wore high-heeled shoes. The bodyguards also wore makeup and styled their hair. This was very different from male bodyguards who usually try not to stand out. You might be asking, why did they dress this way? Well, Gaddafi wanted his female bodyguards to look both strong and feminine. He thought this showed that women could be powerful and beautiful at the same time. To understand why Gaddafi had female bodyguards, we need to know more about how he treated women in Libya. When Gaddafi came to power, he made a lot of changes for women. He said that men and women should have equal rights. This was a big deal in a country where women hadn't had many rights before. Gaddafi made laws that said women could go to school and get jobs just like men. He even said that women should be able to join the army if they wanted to. Having female bodyguards was a way for Gaddafi to show that he believed in these ideas. He wanted to prove that women could do even the toughest and most important jobs. But it's important to know that not everyone in Libya agreed with these changes. Some people thought Gaddafi was changing things too fast. This made life complicated for women in Libya, including the female bodyguards. Gaddafi's female bodyguards became famous around the world. Several moments really got people's attention. One time, Gaddafi was giving a speech in Italy. Suddenly, a man in the crowd tried to attack him, but before he could get close, two of Gaddafi's female bodyguards jumped in front of their leader. They protected him with their bodies. Another famous moment was when Gaddafi visited France. His female bodyguards came with him wearing their colorful uniforms. People in France were really surprised to see women bodyguards. It was all over the news. These moments helped make Gaddafi's female bodyguards famous. People around the world became curious about who these women were and why they were willing to risk their lives for Gaddafi. In 2011, big changes came to Libya. People started protesting against Gaddafi's rule. This led to a war in the country. During this time, Gaddafi's female bodyguards stayed with him. They continued to protect him even when things got very dangerous. But in October 2011, Gaddafi was captured and killed by rebel forces. This was the end of his rule in Libya. After Gaddafi's death, no one is sure what happened to his female bodyguards. Some people say they fought to protect Gaddafi until the very end. Others think they might have run away or changed sides. Today, the group of elite female bodyguards no longer exists in Libya. The Special Military Academy for Women has also been closed. Even though Gaddafi's female bodyguards are gone now, people still remember them. They left behind an interesting legacy. On one hand, these women showed that females could do jobs that were usually only for men. They proved that women could be strong, brave, and good at protecting people. The female bodyguards also helped change how people in Libya thought about women's rights. They showed that women could have important roles in society. But on the other hand, some people criticize the idea of the female bodyguards. They say that Gaddafi was just using these women to make himself look good. They argue that the bodyguards didn't really have as much power as it seemed. Today, women in Libya are still fighting for their rights. The story of Gaddafi's female bodyguards is part of this ongoing struggle for equality. Comparisons with female guards in other countries. Gaddafi's female bodyguards were unusual, but they weren't the only women doing this kind of job in the world. In some other countries, women also work as bodyguards or in special military units. For example, in Israel, women can join combat units in the army. In the United States, women can now do any job in the military, including being in special forces. But in many countries, especially in the Middle East, it's still rare to see women in these kinds of roles. This is what made Gaddafi's female bodyguard stand out so much. Comparing Gaddafi's guards to women in similar jobs in other countries helps us understand what was special about them. It also shows how ideas about what jobs women can do are different in different parts of the world. Having female bodyguards didn't just affect the women who did the job. It also had a big impact on Libyan society as a whole. For some people in Libya, seeing women in such an important role was inspiring. It made them think differently about what women could do. Some girls in Libya started dreaming about joining the military or doing other jobs that were usually for men, but not everyone felt this way. Some people in Libya thought it was wrong for women to be bodyguards. They worried that it was changing their culture too much. This difference in opinion caused a lot of debate in Libya. People argued about women's rights and what roles women should have in society. These debates are still going on in Libya today, even though Gaddafi and his female bodyguards are gone. Lessons learned from the story of Gaddafi's female bodyguards. So what can we learn from the story of Gaddafi's female bodyguards? First, we can see that changing society's ideas about women's roles is not easy. Even when a powerful leader like Gaddafi supported women doing new jobs, not everyone agreed. Second, we learned that symbols can be powerful. The female bodyguards were a strong symbol of women's rights in Libya, even if the reality was more complicated. Third, we see that progress for women's rights can be fragile. When Gaddafi's rule ended, many of the changes he made for women were reversed. Lastly, this story shows us that women are capable of doing any job, even ones that are traditionally seen as men's work. The female bodyguards prove that women can be just as brave, strong, and skilled as men. Thanks for watching this video. Please do well to drop your thoughts on this video in the comments, and let's continue the conversation from there. Also, if you are new on the channel, please do well to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notification so you don't miss any of our videos. See you on our next one.